Welcome to the Art and Science of Difficult Conversations. As always, my name is Chris. I'm one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by Lucy. Lucy, I'm interested in our conversation today with our guests because I think a lot of what we talk about is how do we work with other people and how do we hold other people accountable and manage large group things that are happening, especially when you have like a hard deadline or things have to happen. And also, it's great to speak with somebody who's also a podcaster. We love speaking with
Hey.
other podcasters who are in the world with us. So today we're joined by the host of Over the Weekend, a podcast about Western entertainment and music, as we're joined by Jamal. Jamal, welcome to our podcast.
How's it going, everybody? Another day.
Another day. And you're joining us from Toronto. Jamal, tell the audience kind of how you got to where you're at, where you started, and what you're doing now.
All right. When it comes to the podcast in general, essentially it started with me back in 2019, 2020 or so. I used to host a lot of events in the city, and they used to be events at different exotic locations. So, I'd choose a nice mansion or a nice hotel, or what sometimes I would actually take a venue and flip it over its head. I did a lot of electronic music at that time, but I also did regular events. So, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. I would just gather people up together. And I decided one day, why don't I just do this professionally? Because I do it so well, so great. People love to hang out and have the camaraderie that I said, you know what? Why not? So in 2020, the best year possible to start hosting events, I opened up a company to actually allow that space to happen. And believe it or not, people actually wanted to hang out more because at that time
Mm.
it was hard for everybody to see each other and hard for everybody to hang out in person. And that's a very big and important thing for the human psyche in general, is just to actually be around other people. Believe it or not, the actual business skyrocketed at that point, and it took me into 2022 hosting other events and getting larger and larger and larger throughout in the city, to the point where I started actually doing road tripping, and I started going to other parts of Canada to do the same thing. And after all of that, and after me hosting these events, I decided, you know what, I want to bridge the gap between doing these events and doing something more less octane, because I understood that everything was starting to reopen again. So I said, you know what, this, as good as this business that I loved, I want to now start moving into podcasting, only because podcasting is more of a one man show. It's easier for me to take care of one person than for me to take care of a whole bunch of people, which I did for
Mm.
about 3, 4 years. Until this day, I still host events, but it's more on the cuff of consulting. So there is this other brand in the city that I just consult them, I speak to them, I give them pointers on how to host events essentially. And on top of it too, I host my own, so I still do the holidays. So I usually call a friend the Thanksgiving for the extended family and friends. The people that don't have family. So for example, I have a
Mm.
lot of friends that are not raised here. They were born in other parts of the country, so they don't have their family, don't have their friends. We're kind of their family and friends. So every year I host this thing called the Last Supper, which is essentially a Thanksgiving, but it's really a Friendsgiving. So I have a
Mm.
whole bunch of people come together, we congregate, we eat food, and that's just, once again, another thing that humans need to do, is just eat with each other. You just
Yeah.
notice in the last 50, 60 years, that paradigm shift has kind of happened, where people eat in front of the TV, or people will eat for 5 minutes and then they'll go to work. Maybe they'll eat at 10 p.m. Maybe they'll just eat by themselves. So it's just one of those things that I bring along with people. I always try to do something that's different from everybody else, but also is something that is needed. I truly feel that's the way when it comes to my podcast now, because my podcast basically breaks down the hero's journey of a lot of people. Well, essentially, I try to take a human being and I bring them on. We chat, we talk, we conversate, we laugh. But at the same time, I get to find out, how do they get to where they are now. So how do they get to
Mm.
the position that they are now? Because a lot of people want to be in that position. A lot of people want to be contractors. A lot of people want to be big investors. A lot of people want to be DJs, artists, musicians. But nobody's telling them the footprints on how to get there. And it's good to listen to it online. It's good to follow your heroes and so on. However, if there's somebody that's already done that, that's already spent the years to listen and do the research, you might as well just listen to them, because they could break it
Mm.
down to you in a way faster form than you doing the research yourself.
Yeah, we love that. I think that's very similar to how we do our when we bring guests on. We love hearing their journey of how they got to where they're at and what they're doing. I'm interested. It seems like you have that passion for bringing people together. Were you always like that growing up? You just were brought up in an environment where people were like brought together and community and just meeting up.
I think so. When it was in my adolescent years, it was a lot with hanging out with my family as well as friends. Going through elementary and high school, I was always with people. However, I truly seen it blossom once I left the actual nest, basically. I went to school, went to my first year, and being in my first year, I've noticed that my dorm, my room, was the room that a lot of people went to, not just not just party, but also just go and study, go and have work, go and just enjoy something else besides school, basically. So a lot of the times I've noticed people, for example, my residents in Canada, colleges are nowhere near American colleges. Like, you guys have about 100 people in a classroom. I think we have roughly 50, maybe 40 people in a classroom, so it's a little more intimate. However, when it comes to like the residents and so on, we only have 3,000 people in the whole residence. Whereas in other parts of America, it's like you guys are pushing over like basically a small town.
Right.
So when it comes to our schools, they're a little more intimate, and then we had a little more time to talk and conversate with a lot of people. And at that point in time, I noticed that, yeah, a lot of people would come to my room to cook food and just to hang out, to study. I was the guy that had all the video games, so people would come just to play video games and then just leave, kind of deal. So I noticed that just how I ran my life, a lot of people would just want to gravitate towards me. And I said, you know what, this is just me normally, right? However, I started to notice what I'm doing subconsciously, consciously, and I said, you know, I'm just gonna take these ideas and basically evolve on it slowly.
Mm. What were those traits that or characteristics of yourself that you feel like really contributed to people wanting to gather near you and to spend time around you?
I think I would say charisma for sure. I have that like go-getter mentality. Not to mention, I always want to go. I always want to go after something. I have that, they call it manifest destiny, and I truly think that I have that manifest destiny even in Canada. On top of that, too, I'm a very outgoing person. I would love to talk to people. I love to conversate with people. I love hearing what other people have to say, and I also listen very well. So that's one of the two things I would say. And I have an artistic personality. I have an artistic background. I'm left-handed, actually. I went to school for animation before doing podcasting and the things I do now. So I have the extra portion of my brain that they call it. So maybe that's the portion that I use to host these events and structure these things like that.
Very cool.
What would you say is challenging about bringing people together? What kind of challenges have you experienced?
I'm first faced a lot of things. I used to do a lot of work in the kitchen. So, went from dishwashing to actually doing the supervising roles. Now I do supervising roles at music festivals and in restaurants. What are the odds? I don't know. But when it comes to being in the restaurant business, they call it too much cooks in the kitchen. I think that's one of the biggest problems that I have, where once you start bringing in more people have opinions, and their opinions sometimes will shift or change what you want to do or have to do. Sometimes it shouldn't. However, sometimes it will. And that's when it comes to me thinking, okay, well, am I doing things right? Or maybe I need to speak to this person differently. Maybe I need to convey this message in a different way in order for me to get to this person. I used to work for Samsung as well as one of their training managers, and that's one thing I had as a problem as well, is just people following orders. So I kind of gamified the following orders situation by telling people, instead of just going after them and chatting with them and trying to get them to hold the phone in their hand, just show how cool it is just to have this phone, and they don't. And they will come up and be like, you know what are you doing? Why is your phone better than mine? Like, for example, I have the Samsung folding phone. I would literally tell people at work, put the phone down, open it, and start taking pictures. And people that have an iPhone have to do this. they got to prop it against their water bottle, or they got to prop it against the wall. It's like, you don't have to do that. So when you do that, people are going to look and say, why can't my phone do that? Instead of going up to them and saying, hey, look what this phone can do. It can prop together. It can stand by itself. It's like, I'm walking, I'm going somewhere. I don't really care. But if you show them a reason why, another reason or goal I could say is in the sales world, once expectation beats price, a sale is made. So once the expectation is gone past what you are offering them in money, they're gonna take it regardless. So once again, it goes back to the cell phone. If my phone can stand and yours can't, that's beating your expectations. So you're already sold, essentially.
Well, how would you say your journey of I think that's such an interesting concept, or I agree with you, that too many cooks in the kitchen, everybody has different opinions. The more people you bring in and you start supervising, how do you think your journey of approaching that kind of situation was at the beginning when you first had to deal with it, to over time when your company grew and you got better at this stuff? What was your journey like in terms of what did you learn in that process?
At the beginning, I truly felt like I was taking in a lot, if not even too much opinions, and thinking, okay, I gotta fit all these guys' opinions into my regular day. That way everybody's happy. But I kind of realized that you can't make everybody happy, basically. If you try to make everybody happy, you don't make anyone happy. So it requires me to step back and actually think, is this what this person is trying to tell me? Is it really, really, really important? Can this work? Will this work? And if not, why does it not work? And then from there, I go back again and I try to speak to them, saying the reasons why it would or would not work. I still allow a lot of people to come with me with new ideas, because that's how you learn, right? You learn through those new ideas. But when it comes to making the decision, at the end of the day, you have to know that the decision should be made by you instead of changed by you. Like somebody said, do this, do that, do that. And the more they say it, you eventually are like, all right, I'm going to do it. But you should really think, you know what, if it doesn't work, if your premonition's thinking that it doesn't work, maybe it doesn't. But once again, there's 100 ways to slice a piece of bread. So when you listen to it, when you listen to somebody, you should always take in consideration of what they're saying, because maybe they do have something that's different. In my opinion as well, I was just like everybody at one point. I was the guy that was nowhere. I was the little guy, I was the person at the entry level. So when you're at the entry level, you really love it when somebody at the higher level actually listens to you and says, you know what, that's a good idea. Not just says it's a good idea, they're listening to you. So they're like, taking in what you're saying. So I always say my philosophy is, when I get there, I'm never going to be not looking at the person at the bottom. Basically, I will always listen to them, because they probably do have something to say. They probably do have something out of the box that I'm not.
That's so interesting. I agree totally. It's at some point you have to learn how to make that decision. And I think a lot of new managers, a lot of people that listen to us are, in the professional world, or corporate world, I should say, they're new managers, and they are very, very well intentioned. They want to listen to everybody's opinion, and they end up having too much input, and they can't figure out how to make their own decision and decide. Right. And so was there anything specific that made you realize, I have to stop taking so much input, I have to just make a decision?
I realized that I wouldn't say getting manipulated at one point during my earlier business doing event hosting. However, I noticed that a lot of the times I would just agree with people at one point, just because I just want to move on to the next thing. And I noticed that doing that doesn't help really. It's actually more hindering, only because that person is not really the manager, they're not really the boss. So they don't actually know, they haven't been hosting events. They don't actually know what to do. So I'm thinking in my head, why am I listening to this person? As much as I love this person, I like this person, yeah, they've been along with me for a very long time, but it's like, they've also been along with me for a long time as the coat check guy or the ticket checker guy. So it's like they're more along the lines of, they know what the person is thinking, but they don't know how to run the idea. So if they know the person, but they don't know how to go forth with the idea, well, then it's up to me to kind of shift and turn that. So once I started to notice that a lot of people were giving me advice, but I was also just taking it without thinking, basically. That's when I knew, you know what, there has to be a sea change in what I'm doing right now to make sure that I can excel and continue.
So since we have a podcast, sorry.
No, go ahead, actually.
About difficult conversations. So sounds like that's one of the possible difficult conversations when somebody brings an idea and you don't agree with the idea necessarily. Sounds like from your perspective, you are being open and you really want to listen to them and consider that and pause and reflect. Is that aligned with the vision that I want to create or what we want to create?
Yeah.
Any other situations that you've encountered that you felt like this is really difficult situation, now I have to have a difficult conversation with this person? What would be some examples of your difficult conversations that you've had?
Well, I have, on top of doing all these podcasting and so on, I run a property maintenance business in the city, so I work a lot with the front of people's houses, services, and I also do a lot of door knocking, so door-to-door sales. A lot of the time, that was the last 4 years of my life behind everything. That is a difficult conversation because every single person is new. Every single person I'm talking to is a brand new person, not to mention they didn't expect me to come to their door. So they're not, they're working or they're with their kids or they just got home. And the last thing they want to do is talk about their grass or talk about how their driveway needs to get fixed or talk about how their windows need to get cleaned or their eavesdrops need to get cleaned. However, when the conversation is done, they end up doing one of those things or all of them when I'm done talking to them. Because it's a hard talk. They call it a hard sale. It's a hard thing to talk to people about. However, I'm a very genuine person. I only talk to people about things that are needed. So I'm not wasting my time. I'm also not wasting their time. So when it comes to talking to somebody very new every single time, I feel it's a tough conversation because I need to first earn their trust and open up to them. That way they're willing to, once again, close the door and say, hey, I'm listening, actually. I use, when it comes to tough conversations into that, I use things like the time of the day. I will also use my cell phone technology. I can also use the time of the seasons. So I'm not going to talk to about somebody's grass in December. I'm not going to talk about cleaning somebody's gutters in the summer when the fall is when that stuff falls, right? Mm-hmm. So you only speak to people about, so essentially I'm saying speak to people about things that matter at the time that it matters. And on top of it, too, you want to make sure you relate to that person. So I always have a conversation before a sale is made. I'm always talking to this person casually. I usually enter with, hey, how's it going? I don't usually say my name because a lot of people don't care yet. So, you kind of talk to them about them. So I talk to them about what they're doing. So they can actually notice, hey, I'm not just here because I want to make money. I'm here because I want to help you. But in helping you, it does help me. That's just as simple as it is. Like if my pockets are full, guess what? Your house looks better than how it was when I left it. So we actually do have a mutual exchange. But at the end of the day, too, I usually talk to people and I try to become their friend in some way, shape, or form. At least the way they can say, I remember that guy. Because if they at least remember me, then I'm now a more of a trustworthy person. And in this day and age, we have a trust deficit for sure. We are at an all-time low for people trusting other people in the last 4 years. In the last basically 60 years, this last 4 years, everybody's noticed it that people don't trust other people. So I need to earn that trust first before I can even start talking about anything else, essentially. Yeah. So I'd say the first thing would be talking to people. When it comes to talking to people, the one thing that's hard is the trust factor first, and then from there, earning their time, essentially.
I wonder, how do you build that trust when most people in that situation are going to come from an already distrustful point of view because they're assuming you're there to sell them something, which you kind of are.
Yeah, exactly. Technically, right. Yeah.
So they're already cynical about the whole interaction. What are your strategies to build trust in those situations?
A lot of things I do is one is be genuine. So once again, I don't sell you something you don't want. I'm not going to try to, if your grass isn't beautiful, I'm not going to try to sell you a grass seed because you already know what you're doing. So why would I try to change the wheel, basically, right? So I'll go to something else or I'll look at something else essentially. So that's the first thing, is to be genuine with the conversations that you're having. So try to relate with that person. So, if that person just got off work, or maybe they're really busy or something like that. And, a lot of times I'll get I'm busy right now. So I tell them, okay, can I come back later? That's just that simple, right? If you don't ask them, can I come back later? They're going to say, well, goodbye, have a good day. But if you say, can I come back later, or can I have your phone number or something like that? And I'm not pressuring it at all. I say it casually, because once again, this is a conversation. I'm not trying to, get at you for anything, basically. So if you casually ask them those questions, those qualifying questions, that would actually work. Again, going to qualifying questions is asking them, do you like your house? Do you like being in front of it? Do you like going outside and, doing your grass? Or are you the person that doesn't care? Because if they don't care, they don't care. There's some people that just simply don't care. Some people just don't own their house. So why would they want to, once again, take care of their grass? I always use the grass metaphor, because it's really easy to relate that to everybody, because everybody has grass. Yeah, if they don't like this, they don't like that about their house, and they genuinely don't, then just don't bother. There's some people that I can tell, I talk to them for a bit, and I notice like they just it doesn't matter, man. Like, I just live here, and if that's the case, that's fine. For another thing I would say is, you can't force some things. Like, if you try to force some things, it might actually turn them into a more sour person, and that just locks them off even more. So that you can also be just genuinely happy, because once again, some people, I just took care of my baby, so now I'm not in the happiest mood because it took me 30 minutes to put my baby to sleep or something like that. So they want their free time now. So if you can see that, then I'd just be like, hey man, I understand. I feel your sympathy. You just got home. You just took care of your kid. You just put them down. It's like, I just want to talk to you for a minute. Like, can you please give me that? And, crack a joke here and there. I've always been told that if you make them smile, you almost make your sale. Because if you can make them laugh, make them happy, they're like, okay, I'm quote unquote happy to be here. Because once again, you're going to their door, you're going into their domain, basically. So you got to make sure that you bring a smile. You got to make sure that you're outgoing. Of course, if you're not, if those things are not happening, one thing you can also do is just simply come back later. You can just simply come back to it if you think that this is not the right time as well, right? Like, just time and place for everything. So I would say those three things would be the stepping stones of creating trust. Is being very genuine. On top of being very genuine, you want to actually make them laugh, or be happy, or be happy yourself and make them happy as well. And also know that the time and place is the right time and place.
It is very difficult to make cold calls and hard sales like that. I would say that's one of the biggest challenges for the salespeople. It's, of course, the income is tied to the sales, and there's the rejection. The frequent rejection. What works for you not to take it so personal, the rejection? Because it does hurt for a lot of people. And it can be demotivating and disappointing. What are your techniques to deal with that?
I for sure have those days where you're conversating with somebody, and if you go an hour, 2 hours, and nothing happens, and now you're starting to bog yourself down because you're like, dude, this is not the day today. However, there's one thing I always think of is every door is a new story. So if you go to one house, Jerry knows Paul, Jerry knows Simon, Jerry knows Elliot, but they all have different lives. They're all doing different things. So don't be like, Jerry, Paul, and Simon, they all hate me at the same time. It's like, no, that's not the case. Jerry just got home from work. Paul has been sitting home all day, and the first thing he needs he's sitting all day sick, and he doesn't want to go to the door. Maybe Simon's just about to leave, so he's like, the last thing I want to do is talk to somebody. I gotta go to work. So that's not you, especially right at the beginning. It's not you if somebody doesn't like how you talk. If you're going 2 days without, getting anything, maybe it is you. But, 40, 50 people say no, that could be just, you unfortunately got 40, 50 wrong people. It is what it is. So that's what I would say when it comes to that, is just know that these people, their lives are different, and they're doing all different things. They're all different people. So don't get too discouraged. One thing I also do is I also like to step away for a bit. if you're in the grind, you're talking for like an hour or two and you haven't walked away for 5 minutes, take a break, walk away for 5 minutes and just call your friend. I have a friend that I call almost all the time whenever I'm walking around, I'm making sales. Sometimes I'll even be in a full blown conversation with my friend on the phone, and then I'll tell him, "Hey, hold on, I gotta make a sale." And then he'll hear me on the phone talking to the guy and making the sale. And if I make it, he'd be like, "Dude, that was pretty cool what you did. You said this there, you said that there." Or if they say no and I don't get it, he's like, "No, don't worry, you don't need them anyways. It's fine. Like next person."
Oh.
So there's kind of a person in my ear, kind of like, not just keeping me on a good happy level, but they're also telling me, things are fine, it's okay. Get to the next person. One thing I do, what are the odds? Another thing I do is listen to a lot of music or podcasts at the same time, because take that time to either gain knowledge, or if you're listening to some type of music, you actually are a little bit happier because you're listening to things that you love. And that also works as well. If you can't do any of those things, then one thing you can do also is, once again, have your lunch break. Another thing you can do is actually talk to the bigger person. So I have people that are above me, and I speak to those people above me. Hey, what am I doing today? What is this area like? Is there a place you can help me out where I feel that I'm doing wrong? Or you can simply even go to a new location. That doesn't really help all the time, because a new location is still a group of different people again. So it's like, it's not going from one city to another city usually doesn't change a lot. However, it changes your mindset. You think you're in a new place. You think you're a fresh start. So maybe that placebo effect will get you a sale again. It'll get you to back up, essentially. So I use all those different methods to keep going. And on top of it too, I really do like the idea of, well, they say that 80% of the people are good, 20% of the people are bad. Sometimes I get those one client in the day. Usually I get at least one client in the day that really makes the day. That's like, this person was a really nice person. I loved talking with them. We had a good conversation. Oh my gosh, this guy brought out food. The old grandma Gertrude brought out some for us. I'm like, dude, what? Like, thank you. Or, at the end of the whole conversation, or the end of the sale or whatever, I did the job for them. Everything's over. We have like a beer or something like that, instead of me saying, "Hey man, I'm not going to drink with my client," it's like, dude, he's offering you this beer because he does that to his friend. He does that to his neighbor. It's like, if you don't hang out with this guy, well, guess what? He's going to be like, "Man, this is the guy that does all my work for me." However, he's not going to hang out with me just casually. And that's another thing that brings a lot of the energy back. You spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes with your client. At the end of it, you have to know when to leave as well. Like, don't spend 45 minutes after everything is done. But if they want to hang out for 10 minutes and, it's the old lady that nobody comes to her house and nobody talks to her a lot, it's like, take the time. Just make her day. That brings your spirits up. That brings their spirits up.
A lot of good tips in there.
Yeah, I've been doing this almost for too long. I still feel that there's so much more that I need to learn, because, again, as I said, there's so much better salesmen than me. So what I do is just, I think, like, the organic sales, the organic way of making sales, and there's a lot more methods that are out there. But I feel that this is the method that I know the best.
What strikes me is, I just wanted to comment, is because you've, like, over the time, like, having your own business, doing this salesman work, I think you learn this idea of this bias for action. And like, you had a really great insight of, like, I think it's human nature for us to look at patterns, to create patterns even when there are none. So when we get a lot of rejections, we suddenly feel like there must be a pattern of, like, what I'm doing wrong, or I'm an error here. And I think your insight is really enlightening, the idea that they may just be totally separate situations altogether. Everybody has their own stories, and it's just a string of bad luck. Like, if it happens forever, then yes, there is a pattern. But overall, like, there's still, like, everybody has their own life. And I think what happens is, when you're doing this kind of work, and you're having your own business, you build this bias for action, right? You're like, I can't dwell on the errors for too long. I have to keep going and keep moving.
Correct.
Lucy and I still have our own businesses, and we've learned that right? Like we have to keep going. We can't say, if we get a rejection, somebody says they don't want to work with us, or we don't get the whatever contract or engagement, we have to keep going. We can't wait to just sit around, right? Like the bank's not waiting for us to feel better about our situation.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's telling you to take a break. Nobody's telling you to keep going. Nobody's telling you to take a day off. So, as business owners, that's up to you to take those liberties, basically.
Do you find that that impacts the ways you approach other things too, like kind of conversations, interactions, relationships, like the idea that I don't want to overthink it. Let me just jump into it, and then I'll make an error, but that's okay. I can course correct as we go along.
Yeah, I think that does the mentality at work sometimes bleeds into real regular life. Sometimes I'll say, oh, I'm gonna talk to this person, or I'm gonna go do this thing, but I want to do it. I do it in the way that I speak to somebody in the way that I speak to somebody at work. But I also remember, you know what? I'm not at work right now. I can be a little more loose. I can be a little more relaxing. I can be a little more casual. Like it is still, we're still having a conversation. But if it's something like, all of our friends are choosing a movie or choosing lunch or dinner or something like that, you can then go back to that. You can then switch back to it and try to say, hey guys, I can tell you guys 5 reasons why we should go to get wings instead of going to get steak. Like, wings right now, all you can eat. We all like all you can eat. It's cheap compared to a steak. Why don't we do it? So like, things like that sometimes bleed in. But when it comes to it in general, I do feel that I have the ability to switch off the sales mentality basically and go back to a regular life.
Seems like you really have the strength of being able to connect to people, and also the care and empathy for people.
Yes.
And that's what helps you build trust.
I was gonna say, I also have like a kind of a calloused mind, and when it comes to it, like once again, if you're not getting a lot of sales sometimes, or if you're not getting what you want in life in general, you can't really bog yourself down and be like, it's my fault. At least not all the time. Again, everybody's life is different, so it's like you shouldn't put yourself firstly, be like, this is my mistake, it's my fault. Like, it's, you can even say the fact of it's raining. People don't like rain, so some people would actually just not be willing to talk to you because they think, oh, because it's raining right now, it's a bad day. So it's like there's 1.5 billion reasons why people will say no. So it just requires you just to be like, one more no is closer to the yes, kind of the diamond situation.
Nice. And I'm also hearing you've mentioned a few times, like making myself feel happy, helping them feel better.
Yeah, that works so well. Making myself happy is a genuine thing because people can see that happiness. They can see that, okay, this guy's enjoying his day. Why aren't I? I sometimes bartend at the large convention center downtown, usually during the wintertime only. Like, I'll do it for 2 months or so. However, when I'm working and I'm talking to people at that workplace, a lot of people say, hey man, you're smiling. You're really happy today. Like, not a lot of people are happy. And I'm like, well, if I'm not doing it, who is? Once again, nobody's telling me to enjoy myself. Like, they're just telling you to go to work. So if you don't enjoy working, guess what? You're going to want to leave. So you got to make sure that you enjoy it in some way, shape, or form. That way you actually want to stay longer. That way you actually want to work longer. You want to talk to people. You just want to keep that good, happy flow, basically. And that same thing translates to basically all my jobs. If they see me happy, go lucky, walking around, they know that this person's a little bit more, I guess, once again, trustworthy. This person actually is enjoying whatever they're doing. So if they're enjoying whatever they're doing, well, I don't think they're going to do bad on me or for me if they enjoy their status right now. If the person comes to your door and they're angry and they're like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Bro, like, like, whatever, man. Like, I got my car right here. I can fix something up in your house if you want. Versus, hey, man, how's it going? I'm Jamal. I'm just hanging out with you. I'm doing my thing right now. I'm actually with your neighbor, John. Take care of him. Take care of Michael, too. Can take care of you. What's up? Like, look at this. Look at that. Like, that mentality has a little more energy and a little more, okay, this guy just is taking care of everybody right now. versus the first guy that kind of, doesn't, he's doing a job at one house, but he's kind of like, hanging out. He's just doing it. So that brings people to want to come and check out what you're doing and want to actually invest in you, invest in what you're doing because you feel like you're actually enjoying yourself. Not to mention, I just really have the knowledge to back it as well. If somebody comes up to me and they say, "What are you doing?" I can tell them instead of saying, "I'm just, I'm just working. I'm just doing this thing, just throwing some grass seed on the ground. I'm just cutting the lawn. That's it. That's all." Instead of saying that, you're like, "Hey, I'm helping Jim do this, that, and the third. Like, I take care of him every year." Things like words like that help out as well when it comes to talking to people. Not to mention, it builds your notoriety, which makes me feel like, okay, I'm the head honcho guy. I'm the guy that people talk to. So it keeps that happy bravado up as well.
Jamal, can you count your jobs on one hand? Or do you need, because now you just said you're a bartender too.
Yeah, I know. Everybody says that all the time. They're like, "Man, do you do everything?" I'm like, the answer is almost. At least I'd say I've done everything up to now. A lot of the service industry I've worked in a lot. So I've figured that section out basically. And I think I've taken my service industry / customer service work into the job I'm doing now. A lot of the positions I'm doing now, I've been doing 4 years. However, in my younger years, I did it all basically. Dishwashing, bartending, sales jobs, selling cell phones, literally walking around trying to sell music festival tickets, working at a festival as a supervisor. I do whatever I do, I try to keep myself busy. I also am not a person that likes stagnant, like anything. That's kind of why I like the sales position, because every day is a new day versus I'm walking back in the office to sit down to work on something sitting down inside. Like I always have something new to do. So if I always have something new to do, it makes every day feel fresh. And on top of it too, it obviously makes every day a mystery. But it is what it is. You give and you take. You can't get everything right in this life. So I take what I have now and I just work with it.
Lucy, can I ask a tangential question? Is that okay with you?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, if somebody comes to my door, what is the fastest way to get rid of that person? If they're trying to sell me on something and I'm like, and I genuinely don't need it. What's funny thing is, like, for a while, people were coming to help sell solar panels. And now I kind of want solar panels, but nobody's coming by my door to sell solar panels. So it's like, the one time I do need somebody to come by and talk about that stuff, they're not coming by. But when people come by my door, what is the fastest way to get rid of that person?
There is I can give you 2 ways. There's like the genuine way, and then there is not as genuine way.
Yeah, I don't want to be a jerk. We can avoid the non-genuine.
So then the genuine way is to have it. If you have that service, I can't sell you something you already have. If your grass, like I said it earlier, if your grass is amazing, I'm not going to sell you on better grass because your grass is already good. If Jenkins grass is good, I ain't gonna sell Jenkins more grass because that guy works on his grass more than I can work on grass in my entire life. However, it works basically that way. So if I walk up to a client's house and I see everything already done that I was gonna talk to them about, I'm just gonna leave. Or if they say, "Hey man, look, I already did it. It's in the back." Or, "Hey man, it's already set up. I have it set up. It's coming. Like, the product or service is coming. It's fine." And then I ask them a qualifying question just in case, because sometimes they say, "I have it coming," and they've been saying that for 3 years. You ask them, you're like, "Oh, really? What's the company name? What's the date?" You ask them more qualifying questions that are more concrete, that have an actual answer, more than just yes or no. You also want to kind of have it flowing as always. If you ask them a yes or no question, the conversation's basically done. So if you tell them, "Hey, do you have this product or service?" they say yes or no, and you could.
But is there a point where there's too many details? Like at some point, if I give so many details, you're like, that must be a lie at this point.
Yeah, no. Yes and no, actually. I really do hope that whenever I give people those, I can kind of feel it as well, because I talk to a lot of people all the time, so I can kind of feel the energy of, okay, this person's just not telling me the truth. They're just wanting me to leave. And that's another reason why sometimes I would just leave, because it feels like my time is being wasted. But yeah, I usually ask them those questions because that sometimes they get stumped. So people would be like, "Oh, I'm Uncle Tim. Uncle Tim's property maintenance." I'm like, that does not exist. I do the same company. Like, I obviously know other companies, so obviously I would know that name if it exists. But if they actually have the product or service, they're usually really fast to answer. They're like, "Oh, Jerry's next week. I have them every year." And if I hear that, then I say, okay, that's fine. I also have the idea of going every year anyways to talk to the same person, because eventually you never know what if, like, and a good example is, actually, I had a client this year of last year, actually, that I've been speaking with them for 3 years. I went to their house every year for the last 3 years, and they always are like, no, 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 no. And finally last year I went to their house and they said, this is the year. They're like, I know you've been coming to my house every year, and I've been saying no, but this is the year that I'm interested, because I did something in my backyard, and now my backyard looks not as great as it was, and I need to be clean. And I was like, it was like perfect. Finally, this is my guy. So now I'm finally in with with this person, and now we're actually chatting. And I feel a little bit more inclined to become their friend, because it's like, now I have them, I can't let them leave.
In that relationship.
Now that they're my clients, I cannot tell them, I cannot be like, okay, this is over. It's like, we're gonna do it again next year. Why? Because you've seen the results, and the results are not good, that you're gonna say, you know what, this guy can do it better than I can, and I don't want to waste my time. I got better things to do. So
then that's the nice way of doing it. In the future, I want you to be aware, I'm going to use your name. I'm going to say, actually, Jamal, coming by next month at 10 a.m. to do this. It brings up a point. I'm sure you must encounter people who get very angry or upset at you. How do you manage that? How do you react to people's heavy emotions when they do get, overly angry or upset at you? I kind of have like the 2 to 3 no's is a no situation. So, maybe they're angry at you because of an external force or an external thing in the day, but they could be still interested. So if they are, you kind of need to get that information out to see is it because they just lost their job, why they don't want to they don't want to converse with you, or is it just because right now they just stubbed their toe and in 20 minutes they'll be fine. You got to kind of figure that situation out. So of course, if they say, I'm not interested, you tell them, okay, sir, however, and then you say, maybe everyone is doing it on the street, you're the last person, like, if you don't do it, like, you're going to be the only person on the street that's not doing it. And they say no again. Then you say, okay, well, can I just give you don't tell anybody, but at a half price. That way everybody on the street is done. And, things like that. Basically, you got to find out, is it the product, the service, or is it something else, basically. What I was really struck by is your approach is the exact same way we always talk about difficult conversation when somebody's upset, is figure out why. Go into figure out why, because it probably isn't about you specifically. It's about something else, whether it's a situation or something else is going on in their personal life that's making them feel that way. And then from there, you can figure out how you need to respond and react. But yeah, it's incredible. Like, your approach is the exact same way we would have done it. You're just using it in a different context. Yeah, I feel that there's a lot of neutral building blocks that everybody in the sales business knows, and that's kind of the things that you guys follow. Everybody follows the same way. I also go a tiny bit more ahead. I don't know if everybody else does it as well, but I'm really when people truly talk to me about my kids in the hospital or something like that. It's like, that's like a heavy topic. It's like, dude, the last thing I want to do is try to sell you $1,000 job if right now your kid's in the hospital. It's like, okay, obviously I'm leaving because you have bigger priorities than whatever I'm talking about right now. So you just leave. That's it. Like, reasons like that, I would definitely be like, you know what, this is not worth me talking to this person. Not just because I don't want to make money, but I'm also a person. I think I tell a lot of people when a lot of my clients, I always tell them, hey man, I'm a person talking to a person. I'm not a salesman talking to a client.
I'm just a guy walking around on the street, and I just seen something that was nice, and I said, you know what? Let me talk to you for a bit, and if you're interested, you're interested. If you're not, you're not. Like, it is what it is. Maybe you'll go to their house, you'll talk to them about something, and then they'll say, no, I'm not interested in what you're offering. However, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have the third? And you still, you can still converse in that conversation towards that goal as well, if you just went to talk to them, basically. Another thing too, when it comes to dealing with the negative people, I said this earlier, was if they definitely feel that the last thing that's on their mind is to chat with you as well, you can just put it down. That's what it is. Don't be too discouraged that they're not interested as well, because I also think in my head, there's so much more doors out there to talk to. There's so much more people to talk to. It's like, don't let yourself go down because the one guy said, buzz off, man, buzz off, get out of here. It's like, I'm sure they say that to probably everybody. That's probably the guy on the street that doesn't like anyone. So it's like, it is what it is.
So really not taking it really personally. And there might be so many reasons why they're doing this.
Exactly. Just have a little bit of a hardened skin. If you have your skin a little bit hardened, you're not gonna take those no's as true. Like, this person is vindictive and they just do not like, and they just don't like you at all. It's like, no, they probably just don't like salesmen, because they probably had 20 people. Like, for example, actually, sometimes in the summertime, like midsummer, peak summer, I would come to somebody's house and they say, you're the 5th person to come to my house and talk about this service. But sometimes they'll not be interested, but sometimes they'll be like, you know what? I did it for you because I like you, and not, I don't need this, but I really like you as a person. And I'm like, well, that's because I just generally talk to you. I didn't come at you as I'm trying to sell you something. I'm talking to you as a person right now. It's like, come on, let's hang out together. Let's chat because I want to chat with you, not because I want to make that sale. And that's a lot of people can truly feel that when they hear me talking. They can feel, okay, this guy's generally just a good guy, just trying to make it out here. And at the same time too, you can throw a joke here and there sometimes. If they say, because sometimes I work with higher ticket clients and I'm at their house and their house is a mansion, and they're like, why would I want this service? I'd be like, hey man, because I want to be like you, dude. Like, look at this. I want to get there. And they say, you know what? Yeah, actually, this guy's got that go-getter mentality just like I did when I was young. Or they'll say, you know what? This person's actually making sense. Like, now I usually don't listen to you guys, but a lot of you guys don't give me the information that I want to hear. They're kind of just there.
That idea of, I think it goes back to the idea of what you said before, like, how do you be genuine? How do you relate? How do you be authentic to yourself, to your own style and personality?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't go back on any of that. That's a lot of what my mindset is when it comes to work and life, is like, just don't not be yourself, because that's not how it works. That's just not how it works. People can see that, people can know it, people can feel it. So it just doesn't make any sense to bring a guise and be somebody else.
I have a question. What would you recommend or advise to somebody that, let's say, they are passionate about their service, they want to help people, and at the same time, that could be stopping them from selling because they say, well, I don't want to bother anybody. Everybody is busy. What would you tell them? What could be their thought process around that?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a good question. When everybody's like, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Once again, sometimes I try to go fast with the conversation. I could be a really fast talker when it comes to it. So when it comes to a situation where somebody says, hey, I'm really busy right now, I can't talk, I would usually just blurt out what I'm going to say, what I wanted to tell them. Like, skip the theatrics, skip the whole long conversation thing. Because sometimes people will just act on instinct. So they need a pressure washing or something like that. And they're like, I'm really busy, but their stones are dirty. You just go out with it, whatever. You just say it. Hey man, I'm pressure washing John, just wanted to see if you're interested. Like, that's it.
Jamal, sorry, I think the question, Lucy, am I correct? Your question was like the person selling the service. If
Yeah.
you don't feel confident, you feel like you're bothering them.
My mistake. Yeah. If I'm bothering them, that's a hardened skin kind of situation. You just gotta know that if you don't talk to them, guess what? No money's being made. If you don't talk to every single person, you're not gonna make any money. So you do also have a higher chance with the more people you talk to. So even if that house looks like it's not the greatest house, or you're talking to them and you truly feel like they're not you're impeding in their space, it could just not be that. Literally could just not be that. And the person could just be looking, acting like that, having that closed mentality because that's how they get people to leave. So I would just, keep going, keep talking. And sometimes, most of the time, they'll actually respond or reciprocate at least and get you get their actual emotion out basically. I mean, you'll go to somebody's door and they'll say, hey, I'm not interested. I'm really busy. And you'll go to them and say the same, a different personality. You'll be running really fast and knocking every single house, and you don't have any time to talk to anybody. But that's kind of a good thing because now you're in the mindset of every single person's available kind of deal.
Yeah, I recently read this thing, Lucy, and maybe this is can help answer that question too. Is this challenge of imagine Bill Gates or some billionaire came to you and said, "Hey, listen, if you sell your service or get one client in the next day, I'll give you $50 million." What would you do to what would you do to close that sale? Or what would you do to go out? You'd be like, I got to go do this because I want that $50 million. Like there's a different set of internal motivation. Like I have to go do it.
So I'm hearing the strategy there would be really connecting to our own motivation rather than being focused on the other. I don't want to bother somebody else. Looking at what can I do? What is it something that really motivates me? It could be dollars, could be I just really need to survive. I need to take care of my family. And so it doesn't matter. I need to give it a chance. Kind of focusing
years
on
ago,
ourselves.
Like a few years ago, we had some work done in our backyard. The landscaping company was fixing our retaining wall, and it was rain. It was kind of raining that day, and I said, I was friends with the guy, so I was like, "Oh, it's really cool that you guys are out here in the rain." He's like, "Yeah, the bank doesn't care if it rains or not."
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. The bank doesn't care. Nobody cares if it's raining or not. They still want their money, so you got to pay your bills.
Yeah, you gotta have that mentality, that go-getter. Gotta have that go-getter mentality. Sometimes it rains as well when I'm working, and I will choose to be a little bit less of an octane because I'm like, okay, it's raining, guys. Like, I don't have to run to every single client. I'll take it easy today. Why not? Just do it for again. I'm gonna do it for yourself, kind of deal. It's like it's you're already getting wet. You can already probably tell my hair is like a mop. It's really hard to keep dry. So it's like, okay, it's already wet outside. I'm not gonna, bog myself down once again and just say I'm not gonna work today. It's like just put on a hood and turn the music up to just 2 more notches and try to drown it all out.
Jamal, we talked a lot today about how to kind of manage different bigger teams, how to handle these kind of hard conversations in sales, especially, but just it seems to me parallels to everything, any kind of conversation, really. What are one of the 2 big takeaways you would have for listeners?
One of the big takeaways is be outgoing. Being outgoing is the one thing for sure that everybody needs to have. One thing I can also say, which sounds, once again, like everybody said it already, but just be happy. Have a smile. Be happy and have a smile about it because, once again, people notice that smile, and if they're not smiling, sometimes they think, why aren't I happy? Why aren't I like that guy? Why aren't I enjoying my life? And then they, sometimes they'll go even to you just to get a little bit of that energy. Sometimes I have people just calling me just because they know that if they hear my voice for a minute, they're just gonna be like, okay, this guy's cracking me up, he's making me laugh. Okay, I can hang up now because I'm back to being happy. Like, I'm back to my good mindset. So I even use it myself. Once again, I call people all the time. So I'd say those are the 2 things, is just to always know that everybody's story is different. So just go out there and just talk to somebody regardless of what their status is right now, and even regardless of what your status is right now. Maybe you'll catch somebody that makes your day and flips your day around all of a sudden. Or maybe you'll catch somebody that teaches you something and you think, you know what, this actually was a good conversation. It was worth it. So being outgoing and always carrying a smile always works. I also really like my teeth. I'm a kind of really big pearly whites guy. So whenever I do smile or I take a picture or something, people are always like, dude, you're always photogenic. Like, you don't even try sometimes. And I think that just comes with the always smiling kind of situation.
Nice. Some people have all the luck genetically.
No way. My bottom teeth wrecked. But I replace it with having nice teeth at least.
So, Jamal, how can the people follow you? How can they find you if they want to connect with you?
The easiest way would be over the weekend podcast. That's on Instagram. You can also just search up regularly over the weekend in Google, or you can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Twitter. You can do it on YouTube. And you can even tell your dog, and I'm sure your dog will actually go to the computer and just start typing it in because he's been listening to the podcast when you were gone to work. So, it's what it is.
Same with our podcast, actually. It's very interesting. We have a very large portion of our listeners are animals. So
exactly, our animals. They call that the animal uprising.
Jamal, thank you so much for being on this podcast. It was really cool hearing all your experiences and kind of how it overlaps and how you've been able to grow over the years.
Thank you very much. It's actually amazing to be on other podcasts as well, because I always like seeing other new people. I like seeing other new faces. I like seeing the structure of every other person's podcast because, you see a lot of your stuff all the time. So it's nice to chat with other people that have that same ideas, essentially. And of course, when my time comes, when I'm back in California, usually I'm in San Francisco, like in September. Usually I've actually, once again, I've already spoke about this, never been to New York. However, I have it in my mindset to go. I have these, it's got to happen every day. I always think about it every day, put it back in my mind. So maybe one day we can have a true in-person conversation.
It'd be great if the three of us could just be in person. Because Lucy and I have never been in person together.
It's true.
So it'd be cool to have a real live recording. That'd be cool.
One day we need to do it.
One day we'll make it happen. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. No problem. Have a good day, everybody.